Welcome in one and all to the Pillow Talk edition of the second of two streams that I, Pugs Moran, do each and every day here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. First one I do alone. The first one is High Noon. That comes every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. That's just a topic-driven show. It's about what's trending, what is the headline of the day, whatever the hot topics are. We discuss all of them. We try and run through them quickly. Boom, boom, boom. We get them all to you in about 2 hours. That's every Monday through Friday. The High Noon Show with me, Pugs Moran. The second stream, that's where you're at right now. The second stream of the day is just as equally as important because it's not just me. I do it with my partner, James Parker. It's Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. There he is. James, are you watching the NBA draft?
No, not at all.
Let me tell you, you are missing quite the spectacle. It's happening right now. Timed out perfectly for my Chicago Bulls. They picked right at 8:55. I was like, is the show going to be late? Because I'm waiting for the Bulls to pick. Is the show going to be? And it wasn't. They timed it out perfectly. So 8:55, they just picked like.
Are you happy with the pick? Is this a Pugs approved pick?
No, not particularly. I don't know. They picked someone, I don't know who he is. You know, I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a good, smart pick or what. I know who I wanted, but if I'm being honest, and I think this is the way most of us are when it comes to drafts, my opinions on who I wanted them to pick were almost entirely driven by sports talk radio. It was listening to my local Chicago sports talk radio shows every day. My buddy Mitch runs one of the best ones in the country. I listen every day. I don't know jack about who is, well, you know, he's only a freshman out of Auburn, but, you know,
right.
He's got
and I know what I've heard, but I've got to be honest. I'm not excited about getting the power forward from Vanderbilt because I haven't watched one Vanderbilt game the whole time he's been there. I haven't watched a Vanderbilt game on purpose in my entire life, you know.
Yeah, they've probably played a team you've been rooting for.
That's what I mean. That's why I said on purpose. So, you know, if they're like playing A&M or Texas or something, then maybe I've sat through one of their games. But no, I don't know these people. It's the same way for the NFL draft. I follow a handful of college teams, and if it's not a dude on those teams, I don't know.
Yeah, it's different for the NBA draft. I feel like I'm a little bit more educated with the NFL draft just because I do watch a lot of college football. I watch far more college football than college basketball. So
no, my camera's showing. Hang on. Brady's saying your camera's not showing. No, I'm just at the tiny little thing in the corner over here. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. Hold on, let me fix that. Sorry, there it is fixed.
Much better.
There he is. I'm sorry, Brady. Good eye. Yeah, so the first pick overall was a bit of a surprise, James. It was here. Okay, let me do it to this. Let me ask you this. I'm going to give you the names of the first three picks. First pick was went to the Orlando Magic. Paolo Banchero out of Duke.
No idea. No idea.
Oh no! Oh, so see, come on. Yeah, he was on the big stage. He was, if you even sort of watched college basketball, you would have known who he was.
I didn't this year.
But he was expected to be the third of the top three. He ended up going 1 to Orlando. Number 2 was Oklahoma City. They got Chet Holmgren out of Gonzaga, and who a lot of people thought was going to be the number 1 pick out of Auburn. Jabari Smith went number 3 to the Houston Rockets. Now, here's what I want to ask you, James, because this is the other thing that I love about the NBA draft, particularly the NBA draft. If I gave you 3 names, if I told you Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, and Jabari Smith, there's only one basketball name in there, right? I mean, there's only one, Paolo Banchero. That's a Formula One driver, right? That's Paolo Banchero is a soccer player for Milan. Chet Holmgren,
it's like the goalie or something.
Chet Holmgren is a soccer player, or Chet Holmgren plays baseball. He's a pitcher. He's a relief pitcher, coming out of the bullpen. Chet Holmgren, and then you got Jabari Smith.
Maybe an offensive lineman.
Yeah. But that was top 3 picks. We got a Formula One name, an NFL / Major League Baseball bullpen guy, or
John Deere name.
Jabari Smith. I thought that Jabari. I like the name Jabari. So here's my question for you, and I'll sit back and I'll let you kind of try and work your way through it. It's a bit loaded. I'd mentioned that I like the NBA draft. And one of the reasons that I like the NBA draft is because I enjoy the colorful names. There are just names that. And here's my question to you, James, as a fellow Anglo-Euro Christian American English speaker. Okay,
worst person ever. I know.
No, yeah, well, we are. That's what we are. We don't have to be the worst person ever. I mean, I'm pretty good. You're bad, but no joking. Why do black people, where does that come from? Like, why do our names suck? Let me frame it that way. Why do the names of the Anglo-European Christian have no jazz hands? You know what I mean? They're just, it's like, you're James. I'm Bugs, but I'm John. Then there's like Bob. You're like, but you get like a Jabari. There was like 5 Jaden combinations that went in the first like 12 picks. I mean, it's great. The names are also vibrant, and some of them, and I'm not talking about the Ukalakamaka Lakasain. That's obviously a cultural, a different name from a different country. It's a person from a different country, like a dude.
But if you're from America and the only language you and your parents have ever spoken is English, then why are you naming your kid Quantavious Butler or whatever?
Yes. No, not why. It's awesome that they think to. Why do we get sad? Like, John, I would love for my name to be Quantaneous. Like, what if on my birth certificate it said Quant? Why do they? Why are they afforded? And look, some of them I understand, and it's a cultural thing that I don't know. It's like, oh well, Jabari was the king of Central Africa in the 14th. I don't know that shit, right? So, but maybe they do. But to me, it's just a colorful name that's not John, Jim, James, Mike, or Bob.
Yeah, so the same phenomenon exists across all cultures and all races. It does. The funny part is how it expresses itself different. So when a white person wants a kid to have a funky, unique name, so that the first thing people know about them is they're just not like everyone else. These kids are. So white people give their kids names like Apple. Yeah. Right, or Pilot, Inspector.
This is a newest thing. I mean, this didn't start until around the turn of the century. I mean, your family, they gave you biblical-based white Christian European names. Mine did. I mean, anybody that's named John, Bob, Mike, Steve, Bill, those are all biblical in origin. Those are all. But now in 2000,
there's some strays from them.
Cody's and Malachi's.
Malachi's pretty biblical. There's that.
Malachi I was going to say Noah too. There's a lot of Noahs, but I don't think it's because it's biblical. I just think.
No, I grind my head against these questions on a regular basis. I actually have some half thought out answers. This is not my final answer, but
those are my favorite James Parker answers.
Okay, so the weird thing that white people do that drives me absolutely insane with the names is how much, even when we try and be unique, we're still kind of copying each other. Because, I am stuck with 4 kids that are in like grade school now. And so I am neck deep in this stuff.
And you don't have traditional biblical names. Your names are, well, I mean, actually, I don't know. I don't know if they're
one of them is. Elizabeth is
they're fancier than the traditional American version.
Right. I have Rex, I have Elizabeth, I have Atticus, and I have Quinlan.
Right.
And
not a Jim, a Steve, or a Bob in the group.
No, Elizabeth is just generic English name.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful name. That's like one of the top tier names.
And Rex isn't far off the beaten path. It's Latin, and there's Rex Grossman and other Rex Ryan, and there's Rex that exist.
Rex is of your generation. Your generation is bringing the name Rex back.
Are we? Well, that's good. Atticus is something that kind of hangs around the periphery, and it's not a made up name like Barkevius,
right? Or not liturgical. What is it? It's a literary reference.
It is. So, and then Quinlan is just mashing 2 names together that are in both of our families, Quinn and Lynn. So, but I see white people doing like Braden, Caden, Jaden, Peyton, like they all kind of copy each other in their attempt to be unique. Because there's no Jaden or Braden in the Bible. There's no, Shakespearean character. It's not like some guy in Hamlet shows up. My name's Caden. That's not a thing. So when white people try and go down this unique path, they either give them just Jabberwocky names, like gibberish names, like Apple or something like that. But black people, they're in two different camps in their weird name thing. Some of them are following just the same thing that I described as happening in the white phenomenon, where they just want to have a unique name, period. So they'll give them some kind of off the wall name. Some people are going for something that specifically sounds African, and so
Afrocentric. Yeah, this is essentially what I'm talking about. What we see in NBA and in professional sports, these Afrocentric names that I just think are more vibrant and interesting than Bob or Bill.
Well, hey, I even subdivide that category into Afrocentric names, some of which are actually Afrocentric, some of which I think they're trying to sound Afrocentric, but there's no one that lives all the way from the Sahara Desert to the South Pole. No, there's not one kid named Barkevius. There's 100 million people, but none of them are named Barkevius.
Okay, but that's a different one. So that's not an Afrocentric name. That's just crazy.
Right.
Saint
now,
okay.
Now in that subdivided genre, there is a branch that I absolutely love, where it's come where the name spectrum isn't a line, it's a circle. And so you are wandering around from the most hyper blackety black, I'm black, y'all, black, you're black, blacker than black. And then you get around here and this other side of the white curve, they meet at the bottom to where they have names where you can't tell if it's a modern black American, football player, basketball player, whatever, if it's a modern black American name, or if it's a Roman emperor, like Quantavius.
Yeah.
That could be a 3rd century Roman emperor, or that could be the backup cornerback for the Jets right now. You don't know.
The Chicago Bears have a wide receiver named Equanimous St. Brown.
Equanimous. So I've even thought about putting together a bit to where I give you a name and you have to tell me if it's Roman or football.
Like a Roman, someone from history. Is this
black or Roman?
From
so I'm going to give you a real name and you have to tell me, is this a modern black American, or is this a Roman of some sort, or an ancient Greek poet?
I don't know every modern. Here's the flaw. I don't know every modern black American. So it very well may be both.
I know, but that's going to be the fun part of it.
Okay. All right. Look, all I know is that I did not want one of the boring names. And my son is Mason. We went with Mason, and there weren't any Masons. If you went to the Six Flags gift shop, you would not have been able to find a license plate that said Mason. And do you know this story, James? Do you know about how I got screwed by the Kardashians?
Yeah, because they had a kid like 4 months after yours and named it Mason. So everyone's like, oh, you must be a fan of the Kardashians. And you're like, no!
And now the trailer parks of unwed mothers of America are filled with kids with the name Mason because Kourtney Kardashian gave birth on TV to her baby Mason like 2 months after mine was born.
And now we've entered the era of the white trash boob tattoo that says Mason. God.
It's
got to be horrible.
It's not trending well. It's why we go with Mace, because Mace sounds a little bit Star Warsy. We call him Mace. He goes by
like Mace Windu.
There you go. Yeah, it's exactly. But my grander point here is, I love the name Jabari, and I was reminded of this today during the NFL or the NBA draft when Jabari Smith went 3rd to Houston. I was like, God, I loved it when it was Jabari Parker. I love the name Jabari. That sounds like a fun name.
Jabari Greer.
Was
a fantastic player for the Saints.
Yeah, no way civilized society would have allowed me to name my son Jabari. Jabari Moran. I mean, of course I'd have been able to, but people would think that's weird. And that's kind of what I'm trying to. Why would it be weird for me to name my kid? I named my kid Mason. I thought it was unique. It turned out Kourtney Kardashian shit all over that plant. But what if I wanted to name my kid? You couldn't name your kid Jabari.
I know. And see, black people probably feel the same pain if they want to name their kid Rusty. They're like, you can't name your kid Rusty. You can't have a black kid named Rusty. Jesus, people will look at you like you're nuts. Yeah, it's unfortunate we have these walls built, man. We got to tear all this stuff down.
I didn't consider that it cut the other way as well. You're absolutely right. It cuts both ways. All right, please welcome to the company. What's wrong?
Rusty. It's just, is that the whitest name, Rusty?
It's up there. it's pretty up there. All right, please welcome to the Comfort Nest Lounge, high atop the 1%er compound in beautiful downtown Highland Park, Texas. He is James Parker. Okay, do that. Now I gotta fix his screen because he's kind of a bitch about it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't leave the prompts in there like I usually do. I left it.
That's all right. Just go ahead.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
All right. So that video of President Biden falling off his bicycle has now been viewed more than 300 million times, and that's just by Donald Trump. He just sits there and replays it over and over like a weirdo. Pug's favorite comedian Bill Cosby was found liable of sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl at the Playboy Mansion back in 1975, before I was born. The victim is breathing a sigh of relief, but Cosby does have his defenders: Bill Clinton, Roman Polanski, Prince Andrew. Oh, you like that one? Oh, you like that one, huh? Get the Cena sounder ready. No, hold on.
What's there? I see it.
Yeah, a movie about pro wrestling's legendary Von Erich family is in the works. Zac Efron's going to play the role of Fritz Von Erich, and Kamala, the Ugandan giant, is going to be portrayed by Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, boy.
Or Lizzo. I don't either. AAA is predicting that 42 million Americans will travel more than 50 miles for this Independence Day holiday coming up. 3 million are expected to fly. 30 million are expected to drive, and 9 million are going to be hitchhiking because gas is expensive. That's a gas joke. That's a economy joke. Yeah, that sucks. All right, Switzerland, they have a legal assisted suicide. It's becoming a destination of choice for people wanting to end their lives. Problem is, it's just for the people who can afford it. So less affluent people have to settle for walking tours of Chicago.
Could be worse.
According to Radar Online, supermodel Kendall Jenner does not wear panties, which is ironic because her dad does.
That's a good one. That's solid. That's solid.
Okay.
Solid joke right
the
there.
Judge nod.
Well, they're mostly like, as far as being well-written jokes, they're mostly all 4s. They middle between the 4s and the 6s. Once in a while, you get a good 8.5. That was an 8.5. That was a very well-done joke. Congratulations.
All right, we have a problem here with teen girls reportedly getting pregnant on purpose just so they can audition for MTV's Young and Pregnant. Rejects, though, are... I know, it's really stupid, right? Rejects are going to be invited to try out for the new upcoming MTV show called Pregnant and Stupid.
Yeah, well.
They probably qualify for that one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These kids are going to feel so special when they grow up. Tell me the story about how I was born. According to the National Enquirer, I know, Cher wants to live to age 100, which is actually a short-term goal for her. Because she's
old. She's already close. I get it.
It's like 90% there. In China, the annual dog meat festival is continuing. I know it sounds gross, but they say it tastes like cat. And also at the China's annual dog meat festival this year, they have a new dish that they're offering in the food court. It's called German Shepherd's pie. Oh, you could have booed that one. That'd have been fine. A COVID vaccine. Speaking of dogs, a COVID vaccine for dogs has been developed in India, and then, not to be outdone, China created to go with it, a delicious dipping sauce.
All right, that's a good one.
We're still eating them dogs. And finally, no more dog eating humor. Today is National Hydration Day, Pugs. Experts say if you're having a hard time drinking the recommended 8 glasses of water a day, you can do what I do. Just mix it with booze.
There you go.
You know, I stay hydrated, Pugs.
I give you the hi-oh because it was today's the anniversary of the passing of Ed McMahon. I give you the hi-oh every day, but Ed McMahon.
You remember that anniversary?
Well, I do a show at noon where we go through a bunch of the more interesting tidbits about things that occurred on this day, every Monday through Friday, noon to 2 p.m. All right. So what do you got? You got anything? I got stuff. I got an update on somebody that we haven't talked about in a few weeks, and we talk John Hinckley. Your mic is off.
Yeah, so tomorrow is the birthday for like the bassist or something from Fleetwood Mac. And it would be funny because you know how the obvious formula where you just plug in one of their songs and make it sound like something old. We could do that for like a half hour with Fleetwood Mac, couldn't we?
What do you mean? I don't know what that is. I'm not familiar with this this premise.
Like instead of they got a new song, Landslide, except it's called Stairlift or something.
Oh,
right?
I see what you're saying. I thought you meant there was like some tried and true radio bit where you slowed down. Never mind. Okay, forget about it. I apologize. So whose birthday is it? John McVie? Is that whose birthday it is? Isn't he the bass player?
It is it's actually Mick Fleetwood.
Oh well, he's the drummer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, drummer. My bad.
Wow.
Yeah, I said it wrong. I said I'm stupid. But
That's
yeah,
no, you just weren't born during the height of Fleetwood Mac's influence.
Bro, I saw Fleetwood Mac in like 2019, and Mick Fleetwood comes out, and he looks like this old, decrepit, hunched over, like he couldn't even pick up a 20-pound weight without telescoping his vertebra, right?
Yeah.
But he climbs up into the because the drums were on a little platform, and he didn't walk up the back. He walked up the front and then got up on it. And then he got in this chair in his stool, and I don't know if it was like ergonomic or whatever, because he just had to like settle into it.
It probably was. It's probably some fancy chair.
And when he's walking, he's nothing. But once he sits on this chair and he can have both of his legs and both of his arms going, he was a wild man. He seemed like he was 18, 20, just. But then he got up out of the drums. So think about this. How old is Mick Fleetwood? How much time has he actually spent in a stool playing drums? He may be in a drum stool more time than he spent like walking around. And it's funny because he looked like a just vibrant, virile, alive human being when he was playing drums. And in just the little space I saw from him going to it and leaving the drum stand, he looked like he was 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
I got one of those weird sort of sightings. We were at Mike Ditka's restaurant, and Mike Ditka was upstairs in the bar, and he was sitting there. He was holding court. He was smoking cigars. He was drinking whiskey, surrounded by people. He's telling jokes. He's laughing. There's backslapping. And it's like, that is the most vibrant, alive, 80-something-year-old dude you'd ever listen to how loud he is. Listen, he is smoking the cigars and drinking the whiskey. What an amazing example of how to age and really embrace life. And then we saw him come down the stairs. It was like a totally different person. Now, Ditka's had like multiple hip surgeries on top of the fact that he's 80. But I mean, he basically had to be carried down the stairs. And it's like, oh my God. But you put him down in front of people with a cigar and a glass of booze, with a pork chop, and let him start telling stories. He's a totally different person. But it was funny because we're like, look at him coming down the stairs. It was kind of sad, But nobody ever feels sad for Ditka.
Yeah, exact same thing, though. No, that's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Does anybody care that Arch Manning is going to University of Texas?
I do. I think that's very exciting. I did not. I mean, I guess I hadn't really been putting a lot of thought into where Arch Manning was going to finally decide to go. I mean, I knew that he was the top guy, but I knew he wasn't going to Notre Dame, and that's the only school I care about, really. So I was like, whatever. I assumed he'd go to Bama or something like that. But Texas, that's awesome. That's tremendous. I mean, it's like you can't wait to see what causes him to transfer, right? I mean, what is Texas going to do that is going to cause Arch Manning to be slinging it for USC in 2 seasons? I don't know.
Well, look, the question is, why doesn't he go to Alabama or LSU or something? Because those programs are more relevant than Texas is. Oklahoma is more relevant than Texas. I mean, Oklahoma just cranked out like 3 Heisman quarterbacks.
It's not like they have any right. The Manning family have no ties to Texas. They all go to
exactly
or
Tennessee. Peyton went to Tennessee. Eli went to Ole Miss. Archie went to Ole Miss.
Right. And where did Cooper go? Cooper went to Ole Miss too, didn't he?
I think Cooper went to Ole Miss, but he didn't play because he had already like blown out his knees or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Arch Manning is the grandson of Archie Manning, who is also
Cooper's kid.
The nephew,
the oldest brother's kid, yeah,
of Eli Manning and Peyton Manning, and the son of Cooper Manning, who was the
Yes.
Manning who didn't make it in football because of injuries, or so they say. That's a nice excuse for him, though, right? That, what if he just flat out wasn't good enough? But at least he's got the, you said, well, Cooper Manning would have been the fourth great Manning in the NFL.
Maybe, it was my niece. That's what it was. My niece.
Works out nice for him, it works out nice. Well, of course. Well, I'd have been great. I'm a Manning, but damn knee. Yeah, it's the only thing that held me back. It wasn't my sub 40 speed or anything like that.
Dude,
all right,
go ahead.
Now I got another. Unless you want to talk about this, I thought we could bring this up. We haven't met. This is somebody. I always talk about Paula Poundstone being the number one beneficiary of the 9/11 disaster. Because on September the 10th, the biggest story in America was about how Paula Poundstone was, a terrible parent and a drunk and an addict, and California was taking her kids away from her, and the entire world was talking about Paula. And then on September 11th, nobody talked about Paula Poundstone anymore forever. I mean, it went away forever, right? I mean, when was the last? I've seen her do things, and it's nobody. That story got killed. So tragic day, of course, one of the worst and darkest days in American history. Nobody can deny that. But there was somebody out there who went, "Wow, that was really." I mean, it's a terrible thing. But so along those same lines, we do have another sort of modern version of that here in the state of Texas, because does the name Caitlyn Armstrong mean anything to you?
Nope.
Okay, and we had spent a couple of nights talking about her. Caitlyn Armstrong was the hot Austin yoga teacher who killed the professional bike rider people. Remember the bike rider murders that happened in Austin?
Oh, okay.
Remember? So there was the girl from California who was this really great young bike rider, and she was hooking up with another dude bike rider in Austin. They were having an affair. And the girlfriend, who was a hot yoga teacher, is how we described her.
We talked about this. We did.
Of course we did. It was a big story. Yeah. There was a manhunt. Caitlyn Armstrong was gone. She was in the wind, baby. She was everybody. Jim, well, not Jim Avila. What's that guy's name? I can't think. I don't know, whoever the Hispanic gentleman who does the CNN stuff based in Texas. He was all about it. It was his number one story, and they're covering it on prime time MSNBC and prime time Fox. All this stuff. Everybody's talking about it, and then on Tuesday, Uvalde happened.
and no one cares, right?
The entire world stopped talking about Caitlyn Armstrong and the murdered young bike cyclists. But, okay. We left off like the night before Uvalde happened, talking about how she was in the wind and that she was reportedly in Dallas and that they were going to find her. Then Uvalde happened. Dude, she is still on the run. She has essentially made it, going on a month of this woman just killing somebody. And then, so actually there is an update though. The update on Caitlyn Armstrong, as was posted just a few hours ago. So, it's really fresh and hot breaking news. They found her SUV. They got nothing, man. They got nothing. This girl is being sheltered by a bunch of dudes. You know what I mean? She's going to a different bar every night and going home with a different dude, whatever. U.S. Marshals, James, have found the black Jeep Grand Cherokee registered to Caitlyn Marie Armstrong, the Austin woman. Oh, hold on, pop-ups. My apologies. The Austin woman suspected of killing professional cyclist Anna Moriah Wilson, Mo Wilson, in May. Let's see, what do they find here? Investigators with the U.S. Marshals Lone Star Fugitive Task Force discovered that Armstrong sold the car to a CarMax dealership in Austin on May 13th for $12,000. Armstrong received a check from CarMax just one day after she was questioned by police. So she sold her car. She talked to the police. She was probably didn't think they'd have enough to arrest her right there or whatever. But she had been making the plans to have at least $12,000 cash in her pocket when she decided to run, which isn't much. I mean, you can't live very long on $12,000, right?
Unless it'll get you to Mexico.
unless you're a hot yoga teacher, then you can make 12 grand last for a real long time, which is what I think she's doing. Yeah, Mexico, you could head to Mexico, but that's not where she went. They know where she went. She went to Manhattan, baby. She took a flight from Austin Bergstrom Airport to JFK and was picked up probably by some dude that she knew who lived in, I mean, she's an attractive woman. She's on the run. She's got 12K. She's in New York, figuring maybe she could blend in. Who's going to be looking for the yoga teacher from Austin? And you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, you stay in America, you're going to get tracked. Your cell phone's going to ping something. If you get a burner phone, they're going to be watching people that know you, or they're going to be watching your Facebook account. So even if you log in from a different phone,
dude, she's been gone a month. She's figured something out.
Well, then she ain't in America. She's not in America then.
No,
I doubt it.
Mo Wilson was found bleeding and unconscious at a French house on May 11th after suffering multiple gunshot wounds, according to police. Despite we know what happened there. We don't need a recap on that. Colin Strickland, who had been dating and living with Caitlyn Armstrong for 3 years, dated Mo Wilson during a brief break in their relationship, so he says. Strickland and Armstrong resumed dating after that. The day Wilson was killed, she had met with Strickland to go swimming. Yeah, the innocent swimming date.
Yeah, because that's what I do. I go swimming with my friends. Hey, Pug, you want to go swimming?
Investigators say that Armstrong went to Austin International Airport on May 14th, where she boarded a flight to Houston Hobby Airport. She then took a connecting flight to New York LaGuardia Airport. Her last known location is the New York Liberty International Airport, where she was dropped off on May 18th. So yeah, you're right. The last place they know that she was is at Newark International Airport, where somebody dropped her off. Now, who dropped her off? Come on. There are people we can talk to here, right? What do you mean somebody dropped her off?
Well, that means that they know who dropped her off. They've already done that, backwards calculation. But who doesn't have a connection to someone in New York City? Don't you know like 10 people in New York City that you can call on?
Yeah. And they don't even want to.
I've never lived there. You've never lived there.
No. You know what I mean? I mean, she's an attractive young woman. Any dude friends that she has in New York City, probably a dude she met in a bar when she was, in Orlando or something. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. So I don't know, but she's still in there, man. Caitlyn Wilson. Mo Wilson is the.
Look, I think in situations like this, I may just be unreasonably pompous in my confidence that I could get away with this. Like if I went on the run, you would never catch me. I'm not making these stupid mistakes that we constantly read about. I don't want to say compliments to Brian Laundrie, but he didn't make some of the mistakes that a lot of people make. He got in and he was able to hide and die on his own. They never caught him. You realize they never caught him, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But he knew
we had the whole world.
Quitting in the middle of a backyard basketball game and saying that you didn't beat me because I quit. They were going to catch Laundrie.
But still, these people that don't go to another country, and I don't mean Canada. You go south. You go at least to Mexico, if not further. Like once you go south of the border, I think you're pretty much home free as long as you don't make some very obvious mistakes. You don't call your parents at their known cell phone number because the cops are probably tracing it and they'll ping it back to wherever you are. So as long as you don't make some very obvious mistakes, I think I could get away with it.
Your arrogance is.
I know, but
you do realize that every dumbass behind bars for life thought they could get away with it. Not everyone, but there's a whole lot of them who thought we're just going to spend the next 50 years of their life reverse engineering the decisions they've made to try and figure out exactly where it all went to shit. You're not unique.
But people
having this belief.
I know, but I know. And look, that's why I started by questioning myself and calling myself pompous. I don't understand where I get this from, but I really do think I can make it. I really do think I would be just freaking fine.
I don't. That's why I will never break any law that the penalty is jail time. It's just not going to happen. I'm just not going to. I'll break all kinds of little stupid laws, but I'm not going to break like anything. I'm not going to rob a bank. I'm not going to use a gun to shake anyone down. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. Because I would not.
You never know. Look, man, good people get put in bad situations, and that's no fault of your own. You could just be in a bad situation.
Well, then I would have a defense. There would be no situation, maybe this is my arrogance, but there would be no situation that I could find myself in that would have me facing real jail time.
Oh yeah, but it could be like you get a knock at the door and it's Mason. He's like, "Hey, can you help me hide this body?" And you got to do the right thing.
Well, I guess you're right.
Yeah,
that is probably the lone
man.
exception. That is the exception that proves the rule, I guess.
Get off your horse. Get
All
off
right.
of it.
So what else you got? You got anything else? I want to show you something.
Yeah, show me something.
You know what this is?
The Observer working for the weekend. No, I don't know what that is.
That's enough.
Oh,
that's the Observer. That's the Dallas Observer. That is a 4-day weekend. The long-running improv troupe here in Dallas. Oh my God. I used to see them a lot. I thought they were great. I took a girl. Oh God, James. She was like crazy attractive. She was really, yeah. I wouldn't even know how to describe her. We went to go see 4-day weekend, and they did an improv bit, a Lord of the Dance, where the guy was dressed like Jesus, but he was dancing like Michael Flatley. And this girl that I was with, she turned her chair away from the stairs or away from the stage and just to face the back. And I'm like looking at her, I'm laughing, and we're laughing. We're at a table full of people that we went out with. We're all laughing. I keep looking over. I'm like, what? And I go, what are you doing? And she goes, this is blasphemous. I was like, oh, come on, man. It's comedy. You wouldn't look. Well, you think looking away, I don't care how attracted I am to you. That is a deal breaker. That is not. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, let me just take you home because you are not going to enjoy dating my ass.
That is some performative Christianity right there. Turning the chairs so that everybody can see, making a spectacle of yourself. So anyway, that's 4-day weekend on the cover of the Observer. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I love the Observer. I thought that the Observer, in the years that I was here, I thought the Observer was one of the best local independent urban magazines that you could find. The journalism was top notch. The information was stuff that I was interested in, bands and where they playing and all that kind of stuff. It was just a really well done. This thing is like 5 pages, James. This is what has happened to the Observer. Look at how thin this is.
That's the whole thing?
And then the back, and it's always kind of been this way. But it's like the magazine only exists to promote, sex shops and stuff like that,
Okay, here's one of the problems. Mike Reiner used to do this bit. I heard him do it first, but we all thought it. He was just the brave guy who said it on a regular basis in a public setting. He says the Observer only exists because of the Nookie pages in the back.
That's probably
now that is a hilarious bit from about 1998, 2007 or so. But Craigslist and all this other internet sketchery has made the Nookie pages of the Observer obsolete, just like the classifieds in the regular paper are absolutely obsolete. And so the Observer has had to necessarily crash and not crash, but shrink along with it. The revenue that was driven by the Nookie pages was a crucial lost source of income that has crippled a once mighty, fantastic publication. I'm not as excited about the Observer because as you move around from city to city, most cities have an Observer. It's not called the Observer, but in New Orleans it's called the Gambit. They have one in Houston that I forgot what it's called, but they use the same fonts and everything in their headlines, and they have the Nookie pages.
Chicago, we have two. We have the Reader and we have the Illinois Entertainer, which is our.
Is it the Village Voice, kind of the same square format?
Yes, exactly. An independent local urban newspaper. Yeah,
it's the same size. It's the same layout. It's the same sort of artsy fartsy approach, and not that it's bad. Hey, it works, man. Just like you got drive-through hamburger shops in every town. That's fantastic. But it makes the observer less special. It's not like, wow, look at this thing that we have here. No, everyone has one of those, but it is great nonetheless. But they have almost been stamped out of existence because Mike Reiner was correct. Without those Nookie pages, the observer
Now,
is
what do you mean when you say
nothing.
Nookie pages? What do you mean? Go ahead.
So there used to be the classifieds that were in the back of the Observer. And it's like, hey, we're a married couple, male, female. I'm 39, she's 34, and we're looking for another couple about the same age. Must be fit, disease, and drug free. Call or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're the people put their contact information in the freaking Observer trying to hook up four ways or whatever. And there was also a huge section of it that was masseuses.
Oh, like escorts, like stuff like that. Okay.
Yes. So they're
I'm familiar with that. I know that's how, when you hear about a guy getting in that, because okay. So maybe you've had this same thought as me. No, I don't believe you're what do they call it in the game? A hobbyist. I don't believe you're a hobbyist, which is that's terminology for somebody who frequents prostitutes. I am not. But I've often what if I wanted to be? Like how do you get an escort, James? How is that? Like, okay, so there's the tropes of, you find the most expensive hotel in town and hang out in the lobby, right?
No. Look, if you're in New Orleans, you call Bo.
Well,
I'll give you his number.
Yes, I know. I met Bo. I hung out with Bo. Bo's a scary guy, and we've probably got some good Bo stories.
He's a good babysitter, though.
Yeah. Okay. But seriously, because there is no way in hell. I mean, I've driven down Harry Hines. I've seen what's available on the public buffet,
and that's a hell no, man. No. When they do that in New Orleans, that's a hell no.
They have to pay me, and they couldn't even pay me enough. Are you kidding me? That is gross. I have a gag reflex. There is no way that I would be able to go through with that. So a person like me, middle-aged single man, if I wanted to get an escort based on my the last 20 years, I always thought that that's where you went. You went to the back of one of these, publications, these free weeklies that you picked up outside of bars and restaurants and stuff like that. And I was thumbing through that. They don't have that in here. There's nothing like that in here. That used to be a thing, right? Where that's where.
No, that's a dumb move now, because like the vice cops that used to go through that, there's not as much to go through anymore. So you don't put it in print like that anymore. You put it online.
Don't they put it online? Isn't there
something that can be taken down? Something that goes to a burner phone that can just be changed tomorrow.
I guess there would be a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. You go online for that stuff now. All of it. You go online for it. You'll be fine. But I would recommend the buddy system, where it probably helps if you know a guy that knows a guy, maybe. Because the only experience I've had with calling people out of the Nookie pages or off of sketchy websites is when you're trying to get a stripper for like a friend's bachelor party, and it never works out.
That's where I never had to do that, but I thought that's where guys got it from. I mean, not like
we did back in the day, because there were if it blows up in your face, it just ruins everything. Your entire night just turns into like a sad, shameful memory, right? And so it's
most of those nights end anyway.
Well, sometimes it goes good. Sometimes you get good stories out of it. Sometimes it's just shameful for a few people, but not everybody involved.
Even when it's good, it's shameful. That's what I've learned as a middle-aged man with a young son now. Even when it's good, it's still nothing to be crowing about. I mean,
right. If you can't tell your mom about it, should you have done it?
Exactly. There you go. That's exactly it. But so that's not a thing anymore. And the lack of that ad revenue has probably accounted for the shrinking of size and how tiny this magazine is, though. But let's get back to the bigger point. So I don't want someone from Harry Hines. I don't want to hang out all night at the Four Seasons. I've always seen in movies and stuff like that depictions of escort services and stuff. What office building are those in? What is that a real thing? Are escort services welcome to Chantilly lace, and they're in some like nice corporate tower. Is that a thing? And if so, how do you get involved with those people? Not that I'm looking, I'm just wondering, because if the ads in the back of these things are gone, I'm just wondering.
So I knew a girl who she was a listener of Pugs and Kelly that worked for an escort service, and she swears it was literally just an escort service, and she
Yes,
didn't
we did
sleep with
know
them.
that girl. We did. Yes, I do remember that girl. Okay. Yeah.
Good. I don't
And
remember her name though because I suck.
yeah.
But
What did she
she,
claim?
huh, what?
She
She
claimed
claims she never slept with any of them, and
oh,
some guys would like hint at it, but no one ever touched her. It never escalated to that point. The offers were made like, hey, well, if you'd like to come back to my place or if you'd like to come up, that's about as far as it got. But it really was just for the fact that there was some rich businessman in town and he was going to the mortgage brokers
buy it.
awards,
I don't buy it.
national award show.
I don't buy it. I'm
I don't
sorry.
buy it either. I don't buy it either. I don't buy it for 5 freaking seconds.
I wish I was that naive. I wish I had that level of maybe shelteredness from the 50-something years of my life. But there's no way. There's no way a big baller businessman who would think to hire a woman to make him look good is just doing it to be friends. No, there's absolutely sex involved. And I know, isn't that how they float the law, by claiming that they're just like, we're just escorting people, right?
Well, look, part of me thinks this may exist, but they're really just duping these guys. These guys are incredibly disappointed. They've got to be like, come on, this is like the third escort I've like hired from you guys, and none of them put out. Y'all are the worst escort service ever. Like, they probably go into it. They're like, oh, no sex is expected. And they're like, oh yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No, seriously.
But
No
and how
sex.
bad would you feel if because I guess ultimately they can say no, right? I mean, you can't, dudes, although I imagine a lot of dudes that would do this might just think, well, I'll just rape you because you're a whore, right? And who would believe you because you work for an escort service? So,
No,
but I would never think that way. And because I would never think that way, what is your recourse? Do you pay the money, whatever it costs? And what does it cost? Is it like thousands of dollars? Because I would think that if it was a really hot girl, it'd have to be thousands of dollars, right? And
well, I think there's an equivalent there for the guys that go to a massage parlor and they actually just get a massage. They probably have the same like, hey, what do you mean? This is it? That's all? I thought there was like a wink, wink and a nudge, nudge. What are you talking about?
okay, that I know a little something about because I found myself in those situations, and I can tell you it's there. Is it those? If it's anything with an Asian name in it or something like that, then it's shady. But if it's something that's in a strip mall,
You remember 20
if it's
years ago? Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'd rather.
I was going to say, look, 20 years ago, in fact, when I was on the Pugs and Kelly show, and you know how we were kind of like at Mockingbird and 183, Mockingbird and 35 right there.
A lot of sketchy places in that area.
Yeah, there was a strip mall whenever I would have to exit and turn around to go to the radio station that was a Swedish massage parlor. And so I never went in there, but Swedish massage used to be the thing. Swedish massage parlors don't exist anymore. And from what I hear is there was never Swedish girls in there. It was Ukrainian, Romanian, Moldovan, Bulgarian, maybe a Hungarian or Magyar or a Polish lady or something. It's usually Eastern European or the Slav or something. And they have been edged out of the business by the Asian hand jobs, the massage parlors.
You can't drive around town and not see like, Asian palm massage or something or whatever it is. They're all some sort of Asian theme. Now, here's the rule of thumb though. If you're going to get a massage in a strip mall that has something akin to a Starbucks or maybe an AT&T store or maybe even a 7-Eleven, if you have something that is a big corporate anchor store in the strip mall where you are getting a massage, it's probably a legitimate massage. But if you're going to a strip mall and the massage place is next to like Yuri's secondhand electronics or something like that.
No. I'll take the AT&T store and move it down to a Metro PCS or a Cricket.
Maybe a Cricket or
if it's a Cricket, then yeah.
If there's a check cashing place in the strip mall where you are getting your massage, you are probably not getting a legitimate massage.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, I read the blog of a girl who worked at one of these shops, and I read the whole damn thing in like a sitting. It wasn't that long, but The fun part is almost everything that she describes, you would expect. Who goes in there, how it works, the tipping. Sometimes the guys are butt heads about it and you got to ban them. And sometimes the
Oh,
guys come in there expecting
yeah.
and they say something that pisses you off. So you don't offer the happy ending but the stories were wildly interesting because this is the shallow end of the pool in prostitution. And I'm not saying that I want my daughters to grow up in like the massage parlor chicks, but I would rather do that than the course prostitutes. It is sort of like
Oh God. So,
hints a little bit
so you
further down the spectrum.
so you are more comfortable with
It's
your
not as
daughters
I
doing
should say it's
hand
not as
stuff than going full Megillah. Hand stuff for your precious
well.
little princess.
Any dad,
Yeah.
any dad. If you put the choice in front of them, do you want her to be the massage parlor kind of prostitute, or do you want her to be the full on intercourse level prostitute? You would
Any father
choose the
would punch
handy.
the guy. Any father would punch the guy asking that question. First of all, what world, what reality exists where somebody's going to have that conversation with someone about their daughter? What would you rather have? Just take a walk with me on this one. Just what would you rather have? Your daughter, everything goes to shit. She gets knocked up in high school. She aborts the baby. There are complications. She can never reproduce, so she gets hooked on drugs. Depression sets in. She ends up working in a massage joint next to a Metro PCS store and a check cashing place. What would you rather have her do? Nobody's ever asking that question.
If
But I
there's a
love that
guy
you're
I hate and like I find the genie of I'm gonna save one wish. I'm gonna be like, would you rather your daughter work at the massage parlor or for a pen? Just make him choose if it's like a punishment for an enemy. How about that?
That's fun. That's fun
Yeah,
conversation.
I'm a Disney villain. I got it.
So I had a story for you for your Florida stories. But I don't know if it's that good, and you've probably seen it. James, tell people about your Florida Stories podcast.
Thank you for mentioning that because I have a lot coming up. I have the Florida Stories podcast. Now, Florida Stories originally airs every week on Sterling on Sundays. It's a nationally syndicated show on Westwood One Radio Network hosted by my friend Walter Sterling. So it's a feature on that. And then I take those and I package it for a podcast. And we have 102 episodes now available on the podcast wherever you're listening to podcasts already. So Apple, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that crap.
I got them on Spotify, and I subscribed, and I get little notifications every time something new comes through.
Oh, that's so nice. So it'll usually be Sunday night or Monday that I'll get the new episodes up, and I already have the new ones scheduled through like the next 5 weeks. So I'm not going to screw that up.
So these you're doing new ones. You're cranking out fresh content, right? This isn't just recycling the 103 that you've already done. You're adding new ones as they come.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. I come up with a new episode almost every week. I take
So
some weeks off.
Did you see this story today? I don't know what to make of this. I thought maybe in the last couple of minutes you could let me know if you think this is a Florida story or not. Did you hear about the two Florida cave divers who died in Florida?
No. What did these guys do?
They went diving. They jumped in a swamp and then they went cave diving, which I got to tell you is not something I'm not going on. I talked about this today, James. There was a shark attack in California, and there's all this video of people running out into the water to save the person who was being attacked by the shark. And I was like, first of all, if you're getting attacked by a shark, because the guy was swimming 150 yards offshore, just went for a swim 150 yards offshore in shark water. So people are running out there, they're trying to save him. And I just had the thought that, you know what? I'll jump in a river maybe to save somebody. I ain't running towards where a shark is tearing you apart from limb from limb. And then they, of course, they did what all the authorities do after a situation like this. They put out an all man's on deck search for the shark. like they're going to put the shark on trial. What are they? Killing that shark is going to stop all other sharks from ever.
You're going to arrest him? Is that what you're going to do?
Yes, yeah. But they always do this, and it's so ludicrous. It's like, a bear attacks a hiker in the Canadian wilderness, and then suddenly everyone in that town is out there looking for that bear. Like they can find that bear.
It's a very torches and pitchforks kind of energy, right?
It was the bear with the pentagram tattoo on his forehead. What do you tell? Bears look the same. And the person who could probably describe the bear best is all tore up from the encounter with the bear. You don't know what you're looking for. We're looking for a bear. Is there only one bear? There's a lot of bears in these. What are we doing? Stupid people. All right, so that's the reason why I wouldn't go cave diving. That's why I wouldn't dive in a swamp, swim underwater in scuba gear, and just crawl into some black hole. That's what cave diving is.
Yeah, I hope I can come out of this alive. Yeah.
What's in there? I don't know what's in there. And it's Florida. And they're like crocodile. I don't know what's down there. So I'm never doing it.
So Florida is the only natural habitat on planet Earth where crocodiles and alligators live side by side.
All right, look at that.
Let's go cave diving. Let's go in muddy water.
They got all kinds of snakes.
Flippers.
Snakes and weird shit. I'm not going to...
Hell no.
Sheriff deputies were called about 12:20 p.m. to what was described as Buford Springs Cave in a wildlife park after teenagers there saw one of the divers floating face down. At first, the teens thought the diver was just looking for the second diver underwater, but then swam over to check on him, and he was unresponsive. After deputies arrived, rescue divers went into the water and found the body of the second diver at a depth of about 137 feet. So
dang, he's way down there.
That's deep, right? That's what do you
Wow.
think? The divers were identified as Todd Richard McKenna, 52, and Stephen Roderick Gambrell, 63.
Wait, what was the first guy's name?
For Todd Richard McKenna. Todd McKenna.
Yeah, okay, so 100% chance these guys are white because only white people do stuff this stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, you never see black people getting in scuba gear and going into caves underwater in Florida. You never see, you never even see a Mexican do it, right? If anyone's getting tore up by some animal in the wilderness for funsies, stupid, it's a white people only exclusive screw up to get caught on Mount Hood in the middle of a blizzard, right? We don't have to go chase anyone else down off a mountain in a blizzard.
Dude who decided to go swimming 150 yards off the coast in shark waters was a white dude. Of course it's a white dude.
Notice that didn't happen in Colombia. That happened here.
Interestingly enough, who probably wouldn't be diving 137 feet into a swamp to go crawl up in a cave?
Barkevius Mingo would not Quantavius would not.
Seminole Indians. I bet the natives to the area wouldn't do this because they've seen what Mother Nature brings.
Nobody named Jabari would do it. Nobody has ever done that.
Almost got to be a Todd or a Ken, something like that. The teenagers, Rusties do this. The teenagers thought they had heard two men talking about if they had enough air in their tanks to finish a dive, and that one may have said that he thought he might have a leak in his air tank. This is according to the sheriff's office. Okay, so these guys
could be bad.
Yeah, that could be bad. Maybe don't go the full 137 today. The sheriff's office said the divers appeared to have the appropriate equipment, but it was not known if it was working properly. The incident is under investigation. I'm sure it is. Are you going to go arrest the cave? Go get the cave for drowning these two guys. Buford Springs, the bodies of the men were turned over to the examiners. Blah, blah, blah. Buford Springs is part of a network of underwater caves in the Chassahowitzka Wildlife. I'm very proud of myself. Chassahowitzka Wildlife Management Area. Buford Springs has 167 foot descent and is dangerous even for experienced divers. The Wildlife Management Area is about 40 miles north of Tampa. So I don't even know if that qualifies for a Florida story per se, but
kinda, it does.
Well, here's the thing. Wouldn't it be better if they were just like a couple? They seemed like they were experienced divers. They seemed like they were serious people. They were older. They're 52 and 63. First, James, they did it at 11 a.m. All right. It's like, so they woke up early. They probably had breakfast. They probably woke up around 7. These are like, these aren't like a couple of bubbas who are just like, I bet you can't dive into that cave. You know what I mean? Like that would be the better Florida story. It was one of those guys.
Yeah. Why don't you put your hand in that hole and see if something bites? Are you familiar with noodling? Do you know what noodling is?
Oh God. Yeah. I know what noodling is.
Isn't that
Explain
great?
to people what noodling is. That is
It's another exclusively white level of stupidity. But
Isn't that
that's
an
where
Oklahoma thing now? Isn't that where they do it in Oklahoma? Or
they do it in Texas too. I know
Yeah.
people who say they go noodling, but I've never seen them do it. But yeah, it's popular in Oklahoma. That's where you go into a freshwater body of water. It could be a river, it could be a creek, it could be a pond, it could be a lake. But in the banks, if you like have a high sloping bank, and just with your hands, just feel for holes that catfish back themselves into. And if you stick your hand in there, a catfish will bite you. It'll bite you like your hand or hopefully your thumb, and then you can grab it. Now it doesn't have
How is
like
that?
teeth, huh?
And that's something you want to happen.
Yeah, you want it to bite you. It doesn't have
to
teeth, so it's not going to rip you up. I mean, it doesn't tickle. It kind of hurts, but it doesn't like break your hand or anything. They're not alligators. They're not going to tear you up or make you bleed. And so once they grab you, you grab them back, and you can pull out. Boom! I've got a 60-pound fish. I'm good. And so
you just stick your hand
catch
into a
fish.
dark hole in the middle of the wilderness, and you hope for the best.
Yeah, and a fish mistakes your fingers for worms and tries to bite it. When it bites you, you grab it back, and then you just pull it out. Hey, free fish.
I bet they're not just sticking their hands in there. I bet you, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't stick your wiener in there. That doesn't sound like a good idea.
Well, hey, man, glory holes are a thing. You know, glory holes
Look,
in
hang on.
urban areas are a thing. Go ahead.
Jeff asked twice, what code of prostitution would you prefer your son did, Parker? Rubbing tugs on Harry Hines for gigolo services to old women in Highland Park. It's an impossible question to answer because there's no such thing as a massage parlor where guys are giving handies to women.
Women don't do that stuff. Women,
there's not one, and we're different, okay? Men and women are different. It's not a social construct. We're just innately, we have some differences, and that's okay. And one of them is there's no such thing as a massage parlor for women where they flip over at the end and get a happy ending. That's not a thing.
And that's because any woman who is horny, all she need do is get herself gussied up, and she can just go down to a bar and have her pick of any loser guy. If it's just sex, if it's just the animal act of sex, a woman can get it anytime she wants. There's always going to be a guy out there that's going to be like, you're horny? Yeah, I'll take care of you. No charge.
Yeah, 1,000 guys.
Guys don't have that luxury. Guys, if a guy is horny, he's got to pay somebody. That's the dynamic that exists, and I'm fine with it. But I don't think it's misogynistic to say that. I mean,
well, of course not. Guys look bad. We're the worst ones. We're the ones that have massage parlors. Women are decent human beings.
Yeah. No, we want our massage parlors too. Oh, there's gigolos. I know there's gigolos, but that's a different thing. All right, James, bye. I'm gonna start just getting rid of you. There he goes. Oh, well, you want to come back? Oh, look at what he did to me. All right. There's going to be no high noon show tomorrow. I know. I told you today that it might just be like a half hour or something, but it's not because I have a duty that I must attend to. So there will be no high noon show tomorrow, but there may be a show later in the day. I might do something. I feel because I got something I'm working on, something I want to do. So maybe I'll do that this weekend coming up. Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, no high noon show tomorrow. I apologize. I do apologize. Good thing it was extra good tonight. Thanks, Jeff. That's what a kind thing for Jeff to say. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you soon. Maybe, Jeff. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe, Jeff.